Okay, so my story's going to be rough, so let's get started.
Can I leave that in?
Yeah, are you recording?
Yeah, let's go.
Hi, guys. Usually Chris is doing this, but it's me, your lovely ghost host.
With the most.
What?
And Chris isn't here. This is just an
Yeah.
echo.
She's a ghost now.
Wendy always wanted that paranormal episode, and this is it.
Because it would be amazing. It just would be really impressive if you could come through after you die and we could keep this show going.
Right, on cue. Whenever we're set to record, then I just show up and we go. Just like we say can never possibly happen, but we'll figure out a way.
Right, controlling when they show up. Yeah. Exactly, that's not going to work. But welcome to our show. This is the Creatures of the Night podcast, and I am Wendy.
And I am Chris.
And she is alive.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally, I'm alive. And done.
Did that shit. Let's move on. Well, maybe I should share that funny story of how I was, I guess, too drunk to remember our last conversation about our podcasting schedule. So I thought that we were only doing one story this week, and we're doing two, which was totally my suggestion. So how I don't remember that.
Alcohol and late nights, they get to you.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, she didn't want to do it. Oh, well. But amazingly, must have had my spirit guides looking out for me. And I finished my first story pretty early in the week. And then I was like, oh, I should write another story just to be a step ahead. And so I wrote another story, but I seriously finished this last night. And then at 12 o'clock my time today, you texted and said, I'll be ready in just a minute, or I'm running a little late. And I'm like, oh, wait, are we podcasting right now? And wait, that means we're doing two stories, which was awesome that I just like psychically knew. Or maybe somewhat remembered deep in the back of my mind that this was the plan all along. And I was prepared for it. But so, yeah, if this story is a little rough, I apologize.
Wendy didn't immediately text me back. I was checking my phone because I was still in the basement, still working. And I'd go and check my phone. And she didn't respond. I'm like, that's cool. Maybe she's just getting ready, getting set up, and she'll see this soon. And then I think I went back to my phone and it was like, oh my God, it's already 10 minutes past. I'm really late. And Wendy was like, kind of like, what are you talking about? What's, wait, what?
I was like, wait, what time are we podcasting? And I didn't want Chris to panic because I did have two stories, but I was like, are we doing two stories? Huge question mark. And she's like, we don't have to if you don't want. No. It's fine. I can do it.
We're doing another podcastathon.
They're our favorite, especially surprise! Podcastathons. Not really, though, so I was prepared. But I just want to apologize ahead of time if I'm missing some information in this story. It's because I kind of did just finish it last night, and I probably would have wanted to go over it or dig a little deeper here and there. But all I'm saying is if you've got some stuff to throw in there, you know anything about any of this, add to it.
Oh, you're talking to me? I thought you were talking to the listeners. I was like, yeah, guys.
Oh, same for them, too. Obviously, I'm not going to get that immediately. You're not going to help me out right now to get through this. But if you know anything about this story, please add to it, share. And don't get mad at me for not including that kind of knowledge.
Okay.
So.
No problem.
Yeah. This one, like I said, I just finished it yesterday, and it was because it just came to mind midweek, and it was really, really funny because just the other day you shared a story with me. You sent me in a text, a story about scientists studying the remains of a supposed vampire that they found the bones to this person 30 years ago, but it was just now that they're doing DNA testing to learn a little bit more about his life, this supposed vampire. And basically what they discovered is this gentleman had passed away from TB, meaning tuberculosis. I cannot say this word. It's so hard. So people 200 years ago didn't really understand that disease. And so it was easier for them to label a lot of people with that disease, and especially this dude, as a vampire.
Yes.
And just say, oh, that's what's going on. Everybody else in town is dying. This dude looks the worst. He's got to be a vampire, right? So let's desecrate his body after he dies,
Right.
of course. They did murder.
Thank God. Sorry to jump in here, but
No, I just asked you to do that.
okay. When I sent you that story, had you already had this story?
I was working on my story when you sent this to me, and I was like, that's kind of so funny that she mentions, or that she sends this to me, and now here we're having this conversation.
Right. Going back to how we started this talking about how we texted each other, and I texted Wendy the story, and she fired right back. Like, she was mad about, like, she was like circling stuff with a red ink pen, and I'm like, whoa. What did I miss? Like, she's all fired up. Now it makes more sense because you were already like keyed into a story just like this. And you're like, these bastards, they're just like, he's a vampire, kill him. Poor guy suffered from TB. And then the scientists did nothing. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and make dinner now.
No, the hilarious part of that article was, so they found this cemetery that wasn't marked very well, and that's why they like dug up these bodies. And then they were examining each of the bodies in the coffins, and then this is how they discovered this guy was buried like totally different than everybody else. So they see that he was basically marked as a vampire, and that's why they put his bones in the shape of a skull and crossbone, and they removed all his organs, and who knows what they did, all kinds of gross shit.
Weird stuff.
It's just weird. And then they're studying the bones, and they figure out this dude just had like diseases, and TB being the big thing, and that's probably what killed him. And but within the article it says they found, like, I don't know, I'm guessing at numbers, they found 30 coffins, right? And then they put in parentheses, one of which was empty. And I was like, that's a fucking vampire right there. Why are we? And then they just drop and start talking about the dude's diseases again.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's go back to the empty coffin.
Oh, yeah. They glazed over that subject so quickly. And like I said, it was so funny when Wendy shot back with this all circled. I was like, damn, did she already see this? I mean, she's studying this shit. What is happening?
Vampire hunter, man. I was like, you missed the signs here. Empty coffin equals vampire.
Right? Where'd he go?
Where is he?
Where's that body?
Why is there an empty coffin?
I'm telling you, the H.H. Holmes scenario.
Which makes a good point, too. Or just anybody, like, trying to fake their own death or whatever, too. And maybe somebody came and dug them out, like, later, and just was trying to get out of, like, paying child support. I don't know. But I don't know. But it's not so much vampires. You know I love vampires, but I wasn't going to write another vampire story. It was when I came back to you and I said, tuberculosis has been around for a really long time. So it could date back to some of these very first claims of vampirism. And basically, like, the whole time it was just people with TB and stuff like that. And everybody's like, it's a vampire, it's a vampire. And it's you didn't question me anymore, but I was like, I wonder if she thinks I just have this great knowledge of plague-like diseases or like, where'd I pull that out of my ass? And it was because I had just read tuberculosis has been around for a really long time, because that's a part of my story.
And here I am thinking I'm just surrounded by all these people who have read everything on Wikipedia there is, because I'm like, man, it's like she just read this whole article. It's like,
I'm just so smart.
Like, I've got to make dinner right now, so this is going to have to continue later on.
So tuberculosis is a part of my story. It's a small part, but it's in there, and I had just read that. So to get straight into my story, tuberculosis wasn't actually officially discovered until 1882 by German doctor Robert Koch, but there has been recent evidence suggesting the disease has plagued humankind as far back as 4000 BC.
Oh, my
That's
God.
before, the big man.
BC. They don't even use those terms anymore.
Yeah, now I've done forgot it again, what the other term. It's before Common Era.
Yeah, no, our term was before Nick Groff and after.
This was way before Nick Groff.
This is at least 4,000 before Nick Groff's. Got you.
So they've studied that these Egyptian mummies had spinal infections that revealed that they had tuberculosis, which led them to believe that there had been a widespread attack of this disease in ancient Egyptian society. So that's a long ass fucking time ago.
Yeah, that's a long ass time ago.
During the 17th and 18th century, it is estimated that 1/4 of all adult deaths were related to TB. Over time, the disease has claimed the lives of many well-known historic figures, such as King Tut, Edgar Allan Poe, George Orwell, Doc Holliday, my favorite. Not that he died from it, but I love him. Yeah. And Eleanor Roosevelt, just to name a few.
So they really think TB got Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that until I read this. In the early 1930s, at the height of the Great Depression, a tuberculosis epidemic swept through Washington, D.C. As hospitals in the city became overcrowded with TB cases, patients were sent to hospitals in neighboring Maryland and Virginia. It became clear that a dedicated facility was needed to handle the outbreak. That dedicated facility came in the form of the Glendale Hospital, built in 1934. Although tuberculosis, also known as TB, also historically known as consumption or even the White Plague, had been known by medical professionals for centuries, the question on how to treat it was largely based on guesswork. I mean, they still couldn't figure that one out as long as it had been around, which is kind of odd. Due to its high rate of contagion, people diagnosed with TB were typically isolated or even shunned.
Oh.
Yeah, like, get away from me.
I guess so, because it was contagion, right? So they're like,
It spread like crazy. And they had all these dumb ideas of how it spread. It actually spreads through the air. So, like, not, they were not on target with that at all. But I guess that would be a hard one to figure out. So they just would freak out and send everybody away because they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Many were sent to live out the rest of their lives in rural sanitariums. The patient's family would frequently tell their friends and neighbors that the infected relative had just died due to some made-up cause, rather than admit that they had a tuberculosis diagnosis within the family. Because they, too, did not want to be shunned. Like, you could have it,
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. You got to make up some bullshit. Otherwise, you're going to be ousted by your family members, your friends, everybody.
But meanwhile, this relative that does have TB just got sent to a hospital. They're not dead.
No.
But do you think do they secretly go visit them, or they don't go visit them at all because they don't want to be around? Like, that's really sad.
I would have to assume that they do visit them because it's still spread. More people will continue to get it, right?
Right. Well, I don't think I say it in here, but I definitely read it. Like, these people really weren't allowed to interact with the outside world in fear of spreading it. Now, whether they actually did or not, like, insisted on having some kind of visitation or something like that, I don't know. But, some people were just sent off to die, and other people were not going to risk going around them. A chance of getting it. Because tuberculosis was seen as a death wish, it bore a heavy stigma. Proper treatment eluded the medical community for generations. At best, all they knew to do was to send TB patients somewhere comfortable to die.
Yeah.
I mean, they were trying, and we've been to Waverly Hills, which I totally could have just made this whole podcast because this hospital is so much like Waverly Hills.
Okay. Well, I have to tell you that I thought that's where you were going until you just said I could have done that. I was like, well, she's not doing Waverly Hills.
Nope. In fear too much of writing a whole podcast and then having you drop a bomb and do it before I can do it, I'm just like, you know what? I'll just do another TB hospital. How about that? Waverly's good, though, and we had heard a lot about them doing possible experimental things to patients because they were still trying to figure out how the fuck to rectify this disease. Not that justifies what they were doing, but with the Glendale Hospital, it's the same. I mean, there were many rumors that plagued the facility that patients were experimented on or treated with, questionable methods, as most were just dropped off by their loved ones and never to return because they could not risk being around them.
Wow.
So
I wonder if they felt that way, they knew that, and they felt that way, and that was it. Or if they tried to go back and see their family members, and like people were at the gate, like with their guns or stun guns or I don't know, plague doctor sticks. I don't know what they had to like get those people away.
like pavilion.
Yeah, right. They're like, go, go, go. You cannot come back.
You saw that outside a place. I mean,
I wouldn't go back.
I'd be like, nope, there's something fucking weird there.
Why did I just drop off Nana there? Oh my God.
That man has a duck mask on and a stick. Because that's basically what it looks like.
Yeah, creepy.
Or like an eagle or something.
It's the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah, no, I read in one place, but it's funny because it contradicts what another few websites said, that patients were not allowed to even leave the building.
Wow.
So I think some person was trying to imply that they weren't allowed to interact with the outside world. They weren't even allowed to go outside to chance that interaction or spreading it. I don't know, touching a fucking leaf or something. And then somebody, I don't know. Like I said, I only found that on one website and I took it out of my story because every other story that I read about it, people were saying that they had this vast area and landscape, and that it was like a resort almost.
Right.
That's how it was sold to people.
Yeah.
So it didn't sound like they were, I mean, it's a terrible place,
sure.
but it didn't sound like they were like trapped, chained to walls or anything like that.
Right. Like, what do you do if you are in one of those resort type areas and you see like a cat outside? I mean, and you pet the cat. Like, do they immediately take the cat into the TB ward, or like what happens then?
Yes. Well, you're a monster for trying to spread TB to that cat.
But I mean, if you can't have any of your family members come there and it's like, all I got to do is interact with something and then it's going to be here with me too. Okay. Well, you said they're touching trees and that can't work.
No, I made that up. I did not read that anywhere.
Okay.
But somebody implied that they didn't let them outside, and I was like, what are they fucking afraid of? If all of this is their grounds, why can't they roam around? Are they afraid of that kind of thing happening and going off in the wind or whatever? Ooh. But yeah, they should therapy animals are always the best. They didn't know about that kind of stuff then. No. But they definitely, I think that would have helped a lot of people enjoy their time there.
Yeah, way more than like shock therapy and.
Well, that kind of stuff wasn't happening here. This is just a TB hospital. So.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Maybe they were like cutting on their lungs or whatever. I don't know. That's not good either. Oh. But no shock therapy, at least.
Okay.
Yeah. So the preferred treatment for TB at this time, and by the way, I'm going to try to say TB way more than I'm going to try to say the other word, that I don't have the best time pronouncing. Anyways, the preferred treatment for TB at the time consisted mainly of prolonged exposure to the sunlight and fresh air.
What?
They were just like some holistic medicine type shit. Just go put them out on a porch, get that vitamin D and some good Maryland air, and then they'll be fine, right?
That fresh Maryland air. Maybe a glass of iced tea, some sunshine.
Yeah.
Sounds nice.
It does, kind of. Except dying.
No, that sounds terrible. I thought you were going to say, except you're in Maryland.
No, I've never been to Maryland. You have? Or no?
Through it. I've been through it, so it counts, right?
I think I've been through it. So I don't, in my opinion, that doesn't count.
Nah, I never visited. So sorry. Maybe there's something haunted in Maryland that I'll have to write a story on now that'll get us there.
Oh, this wasn't the only thing, but okay. So the Glendale Hospital was built as a sprawling 260-acre campus with 23 buildings separated by open, expansive lawns. See, resort-like, right?
Yeah. Or compound-like.
Yeah, maybe. They had rooftop gardens that were tended by patients to further encourage them to spend time outside.
Ooh, rooftop parties.
Yeah. They had areas for sunbathing on the adult buildings, and they had a playground on the top of the children's buildings to encourage them also to be out in the sunlight.
Man.
For cloudy days, they had ultraviolet lamps for everybody to sit under. And one pamphlet read, "Children will glow and tingle with the soothing substitute for Mr. Sun."
Oh my God, what were they giving them, radiation?
Yeah. I mean, like, just not good. Like, They say like tanning beds are, they won't stay. Tanning beds are bad for you.
Some people like to suggest that tanning beds are bad for you.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
But underground tunnels provided passage between buildings in inclement weather. But otherwise, all transit and activities took place outdoors whenever the elements permitted. So like I said, I saw multiple places that they encouraged them to be outside as much as possible and not just on the rooftops. And then on this one website, they were like, they could never leave. You know, it was like, I don't know that that's right.
Slightly varying stories.
Yeah. So at its height, Glendale housed 600 patients and 500 doctors and staff members.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. Well, I'm in the 23 fucking buildings, and that's way bigger than Waverly.
Humongous, yeah.
Waverly is a huge ass building.
The place that you're talking about could be an entire neighborhood with a mall. You know? I mean, is this a whole town in Maryland?
Almost.
Wow.
No, I mean, it took up a large area. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore. So now it's just what it is. But,
haunted.
Let's get to that. In the 1940s, doctors discovered antibiotics provide much more success in treating tuberculosis than sunlight.
Yeah.
Haven't antibiotics been around for a while?
I think so, yeah.
I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure penicillin's been around for a while.
That one's been around for a good long time.
Maybe that's not the one that works on this kind of thing anymore.
Oh, that was my next question. I was like, hold on a second. Wait, it was penicillin this whole time?
God, they're so dumb.
What?
No. I did not like dig into that deeper. Now we get vaccines to prevent from those things. So
good old vaccines.
Oh, and then as antibiotics became more widely available in the 1950s, the number of TB patients at Glendale Hospital dwindled. In 1960, Glendale was repurposed as a nursing home and hospital, but then the facility was closed in 1982 due to high levels of asbestos. Ew.
And that stuff tastes great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
You know, building materials in the past, they didn't know. So
yeah,
it's just, but that's bad stuff.
Did the people from the nursing home, did they end up contracting whatever it is that you get when you breathe in asbestos? It's like a lung disease, right? That you get from that? I can't really remember.
Yeah.
They did?
Yes. No, I didn't read about that, but I did read about how they kind of had nowhere to go. The hospital got shut down, and then it was kind of like, well, I mean, you find something like that in a place and you're like, this is not suitable at all for anybody to be in. Immediate shutdown, get everybody the fuck out. And it's like, where are all these people going? So there's people that were kind of destitute from it. I imagine, you know, it's hard to, and I'm sure they have a lot of legal papers to protect themselves from this. It's hard to say that they were sick because of the asbestos, because they are elderly or they are already in the hospital and they could have already had other issues going on. So there was no record of like a mega lawsuit or anything like that. It was more that people were just put out.
Yeah.
And that was the concerning factors. Like, where are these people supposed to go?
Yeah.
But they can't stay in this shitty ass building anymore.
You sure as fuck can't.
Also, they were having issues with the cost to keep the building structurally safe. Oh. So, I mean, like, yeah, it was
just built in the 30s, right? And now we're talking the 80s and it's like starting to crumble. Who the fuck was it? The same builder that built our houses in Tennessee? Cause shit.
I was totally thinking that. I wasn't going to say it. No, your house in Tennessee is very beautiful, but it obviously has some ridiculous plumbing issue that has caused a lot of, I mean, we just assume it's demons.
Yes, obviously it's demons.
Obviously.
You know, because there's no way that a house that's only 10 years old could have this many structural issues unless it was the same builders of the Glendale Hospital, because clearly there is something going on there. Or demons.
Yes, and it could be that too. So... The Glendale Hospital has sat abandoned ever since then.
Wow, and that was 1982. Wow.
I wasn't even born.
I was.
You were.
I was watching Wizard of Oz.
What are you talking about? You would have been like 1.5 years old or something.
I was 2 in 1982. I mean, I guess it depends on the month.
Yeah. Don't have that. So you were watching Wizard of Oz at 2 years old, though?
Yeah, on VCR. We had, one of those VCR things.
Yes, we had a VCR too. I just don't remember discovering that until, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying, I would have been 5, what was I watching at 2 years old? Hold on.
Something paranormal, I'm sure.
No. Do you remember? You probably never watched. Oh, why do I say that? There was these like 3 adults and then somebody dressed into like an elephant costume.
Yeah, it was Skidamarinky Dinky Dink, Skidamarinky Doo. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but that's the song. I remember I love you. Yeah.
They do little hand things.
Yeah, it was
in the morning and then
Peter, Paul, and Mary. Wasn't it 3 people's names or something like that?
That's
something
somebody from
else.
a band.
But I do remember the song. As soon as you said the elephant costume, I was like, yep, I watched that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my jam at that age, for sure.
That is my jam today, as you can tell, as I was just like right there.
My kids know nothing about that. Isn't that a shame?
It's just the age. There's no Skidamarinky Dinky Dink on YouTube, apparently.
No. I bet there is, actually. We should find it.
I bet there is. Yeah. How can we make that mainstream again?
We can do it. Let this podcast do it.
That's what I'm going to bring it back up. Help
Everybody
us out.
Share it. You know what I'm talking about. The elephant and the people
Yes,
and the song.
and the song. I just sang it for you.
I don't know what they did. It was very Barney-like, though. Like
I don't even know how to look
kind
this
of
up.
bounced around a room the whole time and sang songs.
How do you look up Skidamarinky Dinky Dink?
You can just type that in.
How would you spell it, though?
The Elephant Show.
Oh, the Elephant Show.
I don't know.
The Elephant Man?
No.
Foot.
different thing.
The Elephant Show, TV show, song by Sharon, Lois, and Bram.
That's totally them. I remember Sharon.
That's what I said. I knew it was like 3 people's names. They're there. Look how cute they are.
That's the best. Look, they must be singing it too.
Yeah, look at the title. Skinamarink. I never would have gotten that right. It's on YouTube, guys. Skinamarink by Sharon, Lois, and Bram.
Gotta watch it.
When Wendy was 2 years old, that's what she was digging.
That's you too, though.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. So back to the Glendale Hospital, being all creepy and abandoned now.
Ooh.
The plants and the trees around the hospital have taken over the ruins, making a beautiful blend of nature and urban decay. Ceiling beams sag dangerously in a slow shower of twisted, rusty flakes of metal. The ivy that covers the outside of many of the buildings has made itself a home in the breezeways, weaving through open window frames and guardrails.
So, is the asbestos still there?
Yeah, the beautiful asbestos.
Asbestos gardens. Now, wherever you walk.
And lead paint and anything your heart desires.
Of poison. Toxicity at your fingertips.
No, I found this one person's, I guess you'd say, blog or article on it, and they just wrote so beautifully about their time there.
Oh.
And it was all poetic like this. And rows of patients' room line the porchway, each with 2 doors. This is informational right here, actually. With 2 doors, which we know this from Waverly. One that opens to the building's interior, and the other towards the fresh air and sunlight of the balcony.
They had a similar situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of built the same way.
So the lady or the dude, whoever wrote that, do you know if they went in with like total face masks and like hazmat suits so that they wouldn't like get poison? Or
I bet you $1,000,000 they didn't, because I watched the videos on YouTube and people were not doing that.
Ooh.
And I thought, wow, you are ballsy.
Yeah,
like,
that's brave.
You must feel like you are in good health.
Damn.
Because it's a bit, that's concerning.
That is concerning.
To like, when you start gagging later, you're like, maybe that wasn't a good idea.
Right? Like there are so many videos that I watch of Chernobyl because that's a place that I desperately want to visit one day. But as soon as the meters, they start like doing that weird noise. I'm like, why are you people even there?
I don't know if we've ever said this on this podcast, but that show, Dark Tourism, that, he only had like 1 season, is on Netflix. Yeah. If it's still there, you gotta watch it.
It is still there.
There's interesting ass shit.
Yeah.
I wish they would make more episodes.
Me too.
I loved that guy and the places he went. It was like totally cool.
Wasn't he awesome? He was a New Zealander, wasn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, because he had like a cute accent, and he was just like,
where you're like, is he British or is he? Yeah,
yes.
It's a little in between there. But that he went to an area such as that, and they have meters.
Yep.
That it's like you can go on a tour,
Yeah.
and they give you the meters, and the meters start going off, and like people on the bus start panicking.
Yeah.
And then so the bus driver's like, do you guys want to hurry up and get them out of here?
Yeah.
Do you not feel comfortable? And there's people that are legitimately like, I don't feel comfortable. Can we please go?
Right.
You know, and they had masks and everything, but they were still like, we got to go.
Yeah, the people that were uncomfortable got dragged onto that tour by their significant other or BFF. You know, do that dark tourism kind of thing.
Right. It's just amazing. It's just amazing to see those things. And it's really eye-opening in the world that we live in, that all our things are very, you know, like just kind of handed to us in a sense. And we work hard and we make money, and we're, you know, none of us come from money or anything like that. So I'm not saying it's like we're silver spoon fed or anything like that. But I mean, we have all these resources that are so readily available to us if we go after them. And then you go into these areas that just remind you it could be so much different, or it was so much different, you know?
Right.
And to see them like, and that's when we tour these historical buildings, when we were in Edinburgh, and they look like they just kind of vamped up out, and they left shit on desks and everything like that. Like I take photos of those things all the time because it's so like mesmerizing to me. Like, just to see this was somebody's life. This was like somebody's day at work or whatever, or just day chilling. And then all of a sudden they were like, all right, it's time to go. We're closing down. And I just finished my bowl of cereal. Let me clean up. No, don't worry about it. We're leaving, you know?
I mean, I just put out the Go Fish.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably the best hand I've ever dealt. This was definitely my round. And now what? Now I have to go.
Finally gonna win this fucking poker game. We gotta go. There's asbestos. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So people, if you're going and doing your spelunking in the urban areas, I mean, be cautious, because I mean, I don't know if they got all the asbestos out of this place before they closed down 82. Doesn't sound like they tried.
Did not. No, they definitely did not. Because there's talk about reusing the buildings, but the cost of cleaning it up and everything is a real concern. So they talk about the cost of removing the asbestos and stuff like that. It's going to be a real issue.
Yeah. I totally get the whole Zach Bagans face mask idea.
Yeah.
That's something that we should invest in.
People want to make fun of him, but you know, you don't want to regret something 5 years, 10 years from now, thinking it was probably that dirty ass building I went in because I just couldn't help myself, and I'm so damn curious, and now I've got a lung disease, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Be cautious, guys.
But when he wears the pink one, that's a bit much. No,
he's got a pink one?
He did have a pink one. He just changed the color.
Oh.
I mean, in previous, I haven't actually watched it in a while, but
hey, that's got to be for breast cancer awareness, right?
Well, maybe. I never thought about that.
Yeah, that's got to be what it's for.
I wondered if he just wanted to people to talk about his pink, you know, I don't know what you would call them, respirator masks or whatever.
No, he's all save the tatas. I support that as well.
Yeah, I bet he is. So yeah, this poetic explorer, you know, wrote that the ceiling tiles are scattered on the floor and the walls are shed with white lead paint like birch bark.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was being very like, this poisonous thing looks like a beautiful piece of nature. It's poison.
It's poison.
Okay. Just make sure you remember that.
Yeah. I might have to check out his Instagram feed, though. Just saying.
I mean, sounds like some pretty interesting, like, he could mesmerize me.
Yeah, from afar. Dark tourism style.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. So he also mentions that there's, you know, rusty doors, and there's light fixtures, and there's graffiti everywhere.
Yeah.
As all abandoned-ish buildings will get, or not even abandoned.
Right.
So
lots of penises, I bet.
He doesn't mention those here.
Okay.
But I'm certain they're there. Side note, as I read looking for information on this, sure as hell saw somebody's comment that said, my boy, you know, had sex with his girl in the morgue of this place. And it's like,
what?
Awesome. awesome. There's asbestos, and you just put your lady parts out there for it. You dummy.
Oh,
You can't get a mask to cover that shit.
no, no,
Don't.
you sure cannot.
So it's like, that's all I could think. It's like, I would not have my bare ass out with all
Nope.
this chemicals in the air. So, don't
Go
know
to
about,
a hotel, people. Seriously.
come on. I mean, we're too old for that kind of shit, but like, if we were exploring this stuff when we were younger and more amped up, like, you wouldn't get your kicks like being like, I did that. No, you're not that type of person. Never mind.
Nope.
I'm just gonna watch these dirty shows.
No, I'd be sitting in a corner just like trying to get any contact with ghosts. I'd be like, stop touching me, dude. What is
if
wrong
they
with
got
you?
really excited? What if they were into that kinky shit?
Oh,
You know?
that's still go to a hotel,
Disgusting.
man.
It's really disrespectful.
It is.
But whatever floats people's boats. So I don't know about the penis drawings, but there are satanic pentagrams,
Oh.
and there's countless ominous messages, such as "Please go back." That actually sounded pretty polite, though. That they included the word please. It also said, "Who goes there?" and "Welcome to hell." So the police regularly patrol the grounds for trespassers. The ruins of Glendale Hospital continue to still, despite that, attract graffiti artists, ghost hunters, and local teenagers.
Yeah.
And any other curious explorers, which probably still falls into the category of one of those other people.
Yeah, sure.
Curious
They're all curious.
Okay. But it's from these curious explorers, as well as even some of the officers that are assigned to maintain the safety of the grounds, that has given us the stories of strange happenings within the hospital and the surrounding area.
Nice.
One police officer who was patrolling the area alone was discovered standing frozen, staring straight ahead into the darkness of the woods, unable to speak, after an individual had heard gunshots. And so then they rushed into the area, found this officer. They discovered that the officer had shot off all the rounds in his gun.
Oh, shit.
And then when he was able to speak, he really couldn't describe fully what had approached him, like what it looked like or what had happened. He was kind of just stunned and never was really able to talk about it.
That's wild. Like, what even so far, like, it's people that are getting treated for TB and it's serene and it's nice. And then, yes, the nursing place had to evacuate. What was there that scared this police officer?
I mean, like, when we get approached, get approached by a spirit, it's a pretty extreme reaction. I don't know if you had a gun in your hand. If you had a gun in your hand, would you shoot off some rounds? Or if we really just would jump and scream and be like, what the fuck was that? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know fully what happened to this gentleman, but I will tell you there's some very interesting things going on here. So the Children's Hospital building and the Adult Hospital building are the most widely explored structures by local trespassers. Explorers, whatever. This is primarily due to the fact that it's really close to Glendale Road, a local street that bisects the hospital grounds. There is now a new hospital near the old hospital.
Wow, like right across the street. Like you can like look out your window and be like, there it is. I still see it.
It says you have to drive through that hospital parking lot to get back there where Glendale Hospital is.
Wow, it's on the same property.
Yeah, kind of like that place in Bolivar.
Yeah.
Still, though, despite all of that, people still are getting into these buildings. Yeah. And I saw numerous comments that were like, I was there, I saw no cops. I saw other comments that there's a cop there, he's an asshole, he'll threaten to arrest you, don't go on the grounds. But then, like I said, there's tons of videos also of people exploring these buildings, and they have reported hearing strange noises such as banging sounds, yelling, and even screams within the hospital, and seeing the ghosts of the patients that once lived there. People have reported a strong odor of something burning and seeing smoke coming from the crematorium that's on the property.
Ooh.
In one particular room, there is said to be the sighting of a man in a straitjacket. This man is believed to be a former patient of the Glendale Hospital that overdosed on medication after being unable to cope with the guilt that he had, being as his family was murdered and he was there in the house, but he hid in the closet. Now, Whether that's an urban legend or an actual story from the patient, I saw it in multiple places all over the place. So I don't know how well documented that is, but that's the story that goes along with that. They see this guy in a straitjacket, and that's who they associate it with.
Was in the stories, was he a child when his family was murdered and he hid in the closet, or was he an adult?
Yes. Well, I mean, it wasn't like he was like 5 and lived in the hospital forever or anything like that, but he was, yes, like a child age. And then as a little bit older, he had spent some time in the hospital, and then he eventually couldn't take it anymore.
Damn. That's definitely a good story to go along with a crazy, spooky haunting, especially if you're seeing some guy in a straitjacket. I mean, that's definitely the one that you'd want to tell.
Right. I mean, like, it's a terrible, sad story, and then it's also a little terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
You're running into a ghost.
Yeah, that's in a straitjacket.
I mean, maybe that's what that officer saw.
Ooh.
Maybe that wasn't exactly what he saw. The ghostly tales of Glendale Hospital are not the only reason that thrill seekers are drawn to explore the area. Oh no, there's a much darker entity that haunts Prince George County. That is the legend of the Goat Man.
Love me some Goat Man.
So while many consider this creature to simply be the product of a urban legend, those who claim to have face-to-face encounters with the murderous, monstrous thing say that this horrific, genetically engineered freak is all too real. Oh. The Maryland Goat Man is described as a hybrid creature, part man and part goat. According to those who claim to have seen it, the legs and feet resembled that of a goat, and the upper body of a man with a horned head and a body his body is partially, covered with fur.
Is it white fur or black fur?
Doesn't say.
I mean, I don't think it like...
Which one would you fear more?
I guess it depends on the color of his eyes. Because goats, they have those real long slits in their eyes. I wonder if he's got goat eyes too. He's got to have goat eyes, right? If he's Goat Man.
Well, they say he's red eyes.
Yeah, I think it would be spooky either way, but he's...
Yeah, the red eyes pretty much stamp it spooky.
You see a white furry goat guy walking through the woods, and you're like, hey, no problem, whatever. He's got some genetic mutant thing. It's no problem. And then he turns around and he looks at you with the red glowy eyes. You're like, oh, shit. I'm not going anywhere near this situation. It's all around bad news.
I find them both terrifying. The only difference between the two, it's very much like my lab. She's black. And sometimes you can't fucking see her in the dark. So she can creep up on you in a heartbeat because she is all black. And you're like, where's Rose? Oh, she's right next to me.
She's like, why are you touching all over my body?
Like a fucking creep.
Oh, you're right. You would be able to see a white goat out there in the woods a little bit easier.
Yeah, so it'd give you some warning, at least. That's the only difference between the two for me. I think they're both terrifying.
I love goats in general. I think they're fucking adorable. And they have
They are hilarious.
Delicious cheese, too. The little pygmies, they're so freaking cute.
Are the ones that you can make faint?
Oh, yeah. Can it be a pygmy goat man? Please. That would be my favorite. He'd be my ultimate new cryptid forever.
Well, no, because this one is described as being 7 to 8 feet tall.
Shit.
And weighing in at 300 to 350 pounds.
Okay.
This horned, hooved horror would seem to be a modern interpretation of an ancient centaur found in Greek mythology, yet eyewitnesses claim that this fiend is not a figment from old mythology, but a living, breathing, flesh and blood creature that is not to be trifled with. Modern sightings of Goat Man hail from Florida to various locations in Texas, including Cameron Park in Waco, White Rock Lake in Dallas, and most notoriously, a spate of sightings in nearby Lake Worth in 1969 by a beast which is commonly referred to as the Lake Worth monster.
Wow.
So those are just goats, goat mans have been seen all over the country.
Yeah.
So I'm not implying that it's the same one. So I just want to make that clear.
He might have family. They might have migrated to different parts of the country. I mean, my family did the same thing, so I totally get it.
There's also been reported sightings in Alabama, Arkansas, California, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Washington State, and even as far as Ontario, Canada, which really isn't that far from Maryland, but whatever.
Are there any reports outside of the U.S. and Canada?
No. Not that I saw.
He hasn't gone far. He's like Sasquatch. He's keeping it close.
Exactly. still as popular as North America would seem to be with goatmen, far and wide, the most famous member of the alleged species is said to dwell in a cave near the desolate, rusty-covered bridge in the wilds of Maryland, near the town of Bowie. The first official report comes from 1957, when eyewitness report seeing a hairy horned monster in the areas of Forestville and Upper Marlboro in Prince George County. Following that, a wave of sightings began to be reported. June of 1963, in Huntington, Maryland, a young couple on Zug Road observed a particular creature staring at them from the edge of the woods. The woman described it as tall, ragged animal with human-like features. In 1962, the goat man was accused of killing 14 people, 12 children, and 2 accompanying adults who were apparently hiking too close to his lair. So it jumped from just staring at people to fucking murdering a whole bunch of people.
It depends on that level. You know, sometimes you get kind of pissed off with your kids and you do the stare and you're like, you just stare at them and you know that they know the look. And then they go that one step further and it's just like, that's it. It's over. And I guess that's what Goatman was doing. He was just like, okay,
exactly.
I tried this with you guys.
I fucking warned you with the eyes. Since then, the goat man he just started getting blamed for numerous unsolved disappearances or mysterious deaths. Like, everything got blamed on him after that. There was probably some serial killer that was like, this is hilarious.
Great. This works out well for me, guys.
Everybody just thinks this is goat.
Oh, my God. I'm going to start blaming everything I do on Goat Man. Wait, do I have to murder people? Can I just be like, the dishes aren't done? Damn it, Goat Man!
I think that would work, actually. Maybe you don't have to murder people. He was just staring at people at some point, so he's got, a mellow mood.
Somewhat.
So the survivors from that murder spree that the goat man went on remain to be unidentified, by the way. So it's not like an official gonna find this in a police report. Could be just an urban legend. Just gonna point that out.
But I wonder, the cops were like, you're bullshitting me. Tell me the real story. And they're like, no, it was a goat, except for up here he had a man's chest, but it was a goat. And they're like,
I'm not gonna write that shit up.
Right. They're like, kids were drunk, people got murdered, done. I wonder if it was like that.
Could be. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I could see a police officer being like, I'm not going back to my sergeant with that bullshit, So these survivors, they claimed that the goat man violently hacked up its victims into pieces with an axe. All the while emanating ghastly sounds only the devil himself would make. According to this account, when the local authorities finally arrived on the scene, all there was left was a bloodbath of half-eaten limbs and a bloody trail leading to an ominous-looking cave.
And nobody went into that fucking cave. They're like, yeah.
But then there's these 2 victims, or 2 eyewitnesses left and stuff. They fucking did it.
They clearly did. Thank you.
These are cannibals.
Yep.
I would go near them.
Goat man isn't taking the time to hack people up. He is a goat.
No, that's what they totally say, though, is that he would attack people with an axe, attack cars along a road. He's just that pissed.
With an axe. So he's more like the axe goat man then. He's
the axe goat man.
Wow. And these poor people, okay, so either they are poor people that are terrified now, frightened for their lives because somehow they made it out unscathed.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I hope these people ended up in prison.
Yes, thank you.
Because it doesn't sound right.
It doesn't really jive.
And just to be on the safe side, let's make sure they're under lock and key.
I'd really hate to call them out on something, but come on.
That was the most violent attack that's reported by the goat man. Okay. So, I want to say these people must have moved on. All these strange things started happening and everybody was just like, it's easier. It's just like the whole vampire thing that we talked about before. It's easier to just blame it on this imaginative entity that you don't have control of. Right. And that explains why you can't solve it and you can't, rectify the situation.
Right.
You can't. It's a mystical situation.
Right.
It's out of my control. How am I supposed to go against a goat man?
You can't.
And a goat man that's making satanic sounds. And like these eyewitnesses basically described like the way the goat man looked. Their description was basically that of like Pan the goat god or whatever.
Oh yeah. Creepy as I'll get out.
Yeah. So hold on, I'm gonna write this for you. And
Oh, I thought you were drawing an image of Pan the Goat God for me. I was super excited. I cannot wait to post this on Instagram. Oh, that's the name of a demon.
Yes. Yeah. So not Pan the goat god. Then this is
that's
said.
A demon's name.
Can we not?
Baphomet, I think. No, it's just very crazy because I just saw this on Instagram. It was basically your horoscope sign and who you would be as a demon, and I'm pretty sure that I got called out as being that one.
Yeah, so I'm not super versed on the satanic demons and whatnot, but so you what? How did you pronounce this?
I said Baphomet.
Baphomet.
Yeah.
Yes, they said that they described him as this, so not Pan the goat god. I don't know why. I just threw that out there. I thought that it was kind of the same thing, but I don't know my demonic entities. So they said it's like this demonic entity is basically what they were describing, which is a well-known medieval goat-like entity, and it's popular in the occult.
Yeah, they apparently like Geminis because of their two twisted differences, the good and the bad, and they love it when the Gemini flip-flops and they feel like they can control that darker side of them and it appeases them as a
Why
demon.
don't they just go after scorpions who are all dark? Maybe they feel like the Scorpios would pretend like they already know what they're talking about. They're even better than the demonic
entity. They would argue
entity.
with them to death, and that guy would just be like, no, I can't fucking stand around for this shit.
Look, we know scorpions. We're not talking bad about scorpions. Just,
Yep.
But so in the November 10th, 1971 edition of the Prince George's County News, the headline on the front page declared, "Residents fear goat man lives. Dog found decapitated in Old Bowie." With a photo of the remains of the mutilated pet. Like, what?
Come on, Marilyn.
Put that stuff in the
paper. Don't put that stuff in the paper.
Yeah,
don't do it. That's
sad.
Nobody wants to see that.
No. They're not cable then, so they're looking for shock value. Yeah. So the canine belonged to April Edwards and had disappeared after she and a friend had reported hearing strange noises in their yard on the night of November 3rd, 1971. When they went to investigate, they saw a large creature moving in the dark. The article also stated that reports of animal-like creatures that walk on its hind legs had been seen by other residents in the area.
I mean, I've seen some cats doing that shit. Just put that out there.
I've never seen a cat do that, but yeah. I love when my cat stands up in the window, and I think she's just like a little person.
I know,
and I'm
so
like,
cute.
Oh,
look at how cute you are.
I want to pick her up. She doesn't like it.
I don't.
So in April, so this was months before, in April of 1971, back in Huntington, Maryland, again, a farmer near Fletchertown Road reported seeing a large man-like creature eating the remains of a pig. When the farmer approached the scene, the creature ran off.
Had the pig been like cooked? Was he like rotisserie? Because I mean, I love me some pig too.
Pretty sure, nope. Pretty sure it's some raw naan right there.
Some raw naan.
Is that like prosciutto then? Is that what? I don't know.
Is that like what?
Prosciutto? Isn't that?
Oh, is that?
Isn't
oh,
that?
I love prosciutto. I get it on my pizza all the time.
Yeah. So and it's raw, right? And maybe it's smoked or something.
Oh, I think so. It's so good.
I don't think you're just going to eat that raw. I don't know. September of 1976 in Woodmore, Maryland, a landscaper at the Woodmore Country Club finds the unidentified remains of something.
Oh.
Not a human, though, I guess. Or they would maybe say that.
Yeah.
Of some kind of animal on the golf course near Loxford Road. While attempting to dispose of it, the landscaper heard a low growl off in kind of the woods off from the road. And then he looked up and he observed a large unknown animal. That's the only way he could describe it. It's like, never seen this kind of thing before.
Yep. It sounds like it.
So in October of 1985 in Glendale, Maryland, that's where the hospital is, police respond to a report of teenagers making noise at the old Glendale hospital site. Oh. While investigating, an officer hears unknown sounds but is unable to locate the source. Now, this came from 2 different websites, so I don't know if this is the same story of the police officer that shot off rounds or what, but it's documented somewhere. Police officers witnessed this weird thing.
Yeah.
In August of 1990, in Hyattsville, Maryland, during a birthday party at Magruder Park, a boy runs into the woods after a ball. Moments later, he screams. When the adults arrive, they find him visibly shaken. The boy tells his mom it was this is fucked. He says, it was the dark thing with red eyes that stands in the corner of my room at night.
Nope.
No. Hope they got that child some fucking therapy.
I hope they moved.
Happy birthday. This is what you get.
Get that child.
I'm so sorry.
What is that large, like, they have the Escalade Tonka toy car that you can drive. How old was he? I hope they got him like that.
It didn't say.
Jeez.
Yeah. He deserves whatever he wants.
The Escalade.
Don't let that boy alone.
Right? It's got to have them spinners. This kid is seeing this shit in his bedroom. I hope they fucking pieced out. They were like, good, putting this shit up for sale.
Can you imagine your kid saying that to you?
No.
I mean, my kid, when he was younger, my youngest, told me, and he told his grandparents and everything, so he's pretty adamant about it, that he saw a green ghost. That's the only way he can explain it. That he saw a green ghost in his room, and he said it multiple times. And then, like my parents gave me a hard time. It was like, maybe you should stop talking about your ghost hunting around your child. And I was like, I don't ever tell him about a green ghost.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Wow. Though he does know I ghost hunt. But yeah. And I've asked them now that they're older, I was like, did you ever see a ghost? Have you ever experienced it? He goes, no, just that one ghost in our Bean Lake house.
That's crazy.
And I was like,
we were ghost hunting too there. Well, not there at the place,
but that's
when
we started. When we started at that house, and there were times I came home and I had some nightmares that I thought I had brought something home with me, or I didn't know if it was just in my mind. And another time that I had actually seen something in my house that I thought it was right after we had investigated, so I thought I brought it home. But his green ghost, I never saw it. So like, why would it only appear to him? I'm not really sure. It didn't bother him. He's just like, well, I guess it bothered him to the point that he wanted to get in the bed or whatever with us. But he's a real needy child anyway. So. So, in May of 1998, and back in Bowie, Maryland, a group of teenagers were hanging out near a local bridge when they noticed something moving in the weeds nearby. 2 of the teens go to investigate and describe seeing a tall, human-like animal running into the forest. I don't believe that it killed those people, because half the time it's just kind of like, and then running off. Doesn't seem like it's really bothering anybody.
I think those 2 kids killed that whole party. Goatman just got blamed for it.
Yeah, that was fucked up and rude. So, July of 2007 in Glenyardon, Maryland, a camera crew for WRC-TV, Washington, D.C., is on location to cover a local golf tournament when they noticed a strange animal moving in the trees nearby. The cameraman managed to capture a few seconds of video before the animal disappeared. However, I did not find this on YouTube.
Oh, my God.
If someone finds this on YouTube, please send it to us, because I could not find it myself.
I had already grabbed my phone because I knew you were about to send me this video.
I mean, also, like, remember I said I was a little rushed on this. So I only go like 5 pages into YouTube. Maybe it was on the 6th page. I didn't catch it. But this would be impressive.
How is this not a Josh Gates episode? This is insane. How has he not investigated this?
Also, the goat man must be into golf, because this is his 2nd golf course.
He's standing by the sidelines like,
yay, that was a good first. I don't know.
He's golf clapping. Does he have human hands or hooves?
They gotta be hooves. So he's
hoof clapping then.
Yes.
Hoof claps.
Like coconuts, like Monty Python.
And I love the way that sounds too.
Yes. So While the goat man has been associated with various locations throughout Prince George's County, the location which is most notoriously associated with the goat man is the Governor's Bridge in Davison, Maryland. This massive, sinister structure, which is also known by the name of Crybaby Bridge, due to so all I can think of is like the Johnny Depp movie or whatever. But the reason it's called that is it already has a paranormal tale attached to it other than the goat man. There's a story that you can hear a baby crying near the bridge, and people say it's because there was a distraught, unwed mother that apparently threw her infant over the bridge, having a fit of that her family would find out. And then now people hear this baby crying. But there's also another version of the story about the bridge that it was a mother and a baby in a car, and they veered off and fell off the bridge or whatever, crashed off of the bridge, and that's why you hear a baby crying. And then they also say that with that version of the story, they also say that sometimes people driving near the bridge see a car in their rearview mirror, but as they turn to get a better look or whatever, it's gone. So it's a ghost car, ghost baby crying, and then goat man on top of that.
Yeah, because it's gone over the side of the bridge. And then goat man. And he's like eating them apparently because he's scavenging for food, right?
I guess. I don't know. So it bears mentioning that Kentucky's Pope Lick Monster, stupidest name ever, sorry, arguably America's second most notorious goat man, is also said to reside near a dilapidated train bridge, forcing one to wonder whether or not these creatures are related, or even one and the same, which we talked about this a minute ago. We think that they're just family members probably, you know?
Yeah, they just spread out.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, he's like, it's too crowded underneath this bridge, goat man.
They're like
you need to go
animals. Yeah. they give birth to their young, and then they're like, you go on your own, you know, like bears.
Yeah, you're on your own.
Yeah. After a year.
Go find your own food and peace out.
Your own
This is my bridge.
pigs to eat. So it was noted by cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman.
Those are my people.
She's even suggested it's your life goal.
I know.
She has even suggested that the 1970 sightings of a bizarre axe-wielding bunny man, which not surprisingly hails from another train bridge.
Wait, Wendy, are these all just homeless people?
Yes.
They all live under bridges.
Right.
They're just eating whatever the fuck they can find. They're maybe not in the best of hygiene or health.
Yeah, so they're just crazy looking people that somehow get associated with animals. And then people just name like whatever bridge they're living under like a troll. Like now this axe wielding bunny man, his bridge became known as Bunny Man Bridge, and that's in Fairfax County, Virginia, not that far from Maryland.
There we go.
And it's a lot like the goat man encounters. So you wonder, like, is this a murderer that's dressing up like an animal? Like, I mean, I don't think you can dress up like a bunny. Bunnies are fairly small. So, I mean, like, and then also like jackrabbits are big.
Yeah,
they're like size of small dogs or whatever, you know. So say you killed one of them, you took their bunny ears, maybe their nose, put it all over your face.
Ooh.
You're disguising your face, and then you're going out and doing fucked up things.
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up
and then
too.
People think that you're some supernatural creature.
Right.
That they've talked about that. We've heard that in lore episodes and stuff like that when people thought that, there were wolfmen or whatever that were killing people, and they were just taking the hides of those things and wearing them, go out and do things. There's people that have done that with bear skins and stuff too. Yeah. I mean, like, it's just their costume, basically, to go out and get away with it. And in my Outlander show, there was a bear.
Really?
There was a dude dressing up as a bear, and everybody thought it was a bear actually attacking because he had the claws and everything.
Oh.
No, it was a person.
I mean, there's just sick people out there all over the place. You don't know if it's an animal or if it's just a dude that killed some animal and dressed up in their hide.
I feel like it would be easy to dress up in a goat hide, for sure.
Why?
I thought about it. I wondered what size I would be.
I saw you raising some horns up, but when I didn't respond so quickly, you like quickly put it down. And you're like, okay, she's not on board, so I won't reveal this right now.
Not for that look. Right. So no one is sure on the origins of the goat man. One popular story says that he is a product of a scientific experiment gone wrong,
Yeah.
like Spider-Man.
Oh.
In other versions of the legend, the goat man is an escapee from the nearby Glendale Hospital. Sometimes he's referred to as that one that is seen in the straitjacket because everybody thinks he was crazy,
Yeah.
so they think this is him, that he actually didn't kill himself. He got away and he's living in the woods and he's just insane and attacking people that get close to him. But that's not really true because he's seen over a lot of parts of Maryland.
Yeah.
In some versions of the legend, the two stories are kind of blended. It's a scientist that did experiments on somebody that was at Glendale Hospital. And another one, and the most popular one, it's a Dr. Stephen Fletcher is credited for all of this. And they say that he was doing an experiment mixing goat's DNA. Why? I really don't understand the benefits of messing with goat DNA.
Oh.
And then he was experimenting on his assistant, who was named William Lotsfer, like the road that I mentioned.
Interesting. And going to your goat DNA thing, I just watched this whole story on, it's something on Netflix. I think it's like Weird America or Weird something. Anyways, it's weird. So you got that part. And anyways, they're talking about this guy who he starts talking about Spider-Man, kind of like how you just did. And then they go into like trying to figure out how to make the web, the spider web, and try to mass produce it and try to figure out ways to make more of it because it's such an awesome thing that the spiders are producing. So they spliced spider DNA with goats. And when they are getting the goat's milk out of these hybrid goat spiders, they're goat size, but they have spider DNA in them, they can actually extract the silk out of the goat milk. So they're getting, it's not spider silk necessarily because now it's goat silk. And apparently it's super strong and it's going to be amazing and we can use it for, I don't know, all sorts of shit. But anyway, side note.
That's insane.
That
and
right?
that I just had no idea that goats had so much to offer
Me too. I love
science,
them. They're so cute too.
You look at them and they have their little slit eyes and you're like, what are you even thinking? And you didn't know how important they were.
They're thinking about apparently staring you down or axing your heads off.
I assumed he's messing with goats because they were readily available to him and they're docile. So it's like nobody cares if I mess with this goat, and it doesn't even care. And Stephen Fletcher worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture Research Center in Beltsville, Maryland. So that's the most popular story, is that he was experimenting with things. He had a sick wife who had become comatose and nobody really understood why. And he was trying to develop some kind of medicine or treatment for her. And then he experimented on his assistant, and his assistant was transformed into the goat man. But it became too much for him to handle. He escaped from the research center and ran off into the woods, where he continuously roamed the woods, seeking revenge for what was done to him.
Now that does sound like a Marvel story.
Tell me it's I'm just like, who the fuck wrote this?
Right.
So something that makes a little more sense to me, other than this being a demon, is the Scotaway Native people believed a magical creature in the same area in Maryland had the ability to shapeshift into various animal forms. So shapeshifters are always fun. And this makes total sense as a, story. Because, like, what else could it be? I don't really believe this man transformed into a goat man, but how do I know anything? So, but that story from those Native American people was written and documented in 1666. So, I mean, that's an old theory, in which the illustrations along with this story weren't goat-like necessarily, like the drawings that these Native American people were describing. Instead, they were more Bigfoot-like.
Oh, yeah. That's where we're going with it.
It was a creature standing on two legs, and it was tall, and it was big, and it was hulking, and there was nothing about horns and hooves or anything like that necessarily.
So maybe it evolved over time, huh?
I think that it's very possible, if you were a religious person and then you see this creature approaching you, and it seems unexplainable to what it might be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary and it's intimidating. Maybe you would exaggerate in your mind that there was more to that creature. And if you are familiar with
Yeah.
demonic things being terrifying to you, that it's like, it's just
Yeah.
Bigfoot, but I swear I saw horns on it. You know?
Yes.
It's just an idea that they could have put that in their heads. It could actually be the fucking devil. I'm not really sure. But many of these Goatman sightings and reports closely correlate to Bigfoot sightings as well, that have been reported in the same general area of Maryland for generations.
Yeah.
Bigfoot-related sightings continue throughout Maryland and the surrounding states. So yeah, I mean, what if people are just exaggerating these Bigfoot sightings? What if Bigfoot is an unknown species to America that's eluded people to be able to be examined and whatnot? I mean, just like during Shark Week, they had a camera down on the bottom of the ocean and they saw some fucking, people kept calling it like a bag, but because it was like translucent and shit, but there was some weird fucking thing that came by a screen and went by some bait that they had on the bottom floor. I don't know for sure if it was the bottom floor, but it was down there.
Well, you don't have to sell me, because I am a 100% believer in the things that are, especially places that are unexplored, high forested areas or deep ocean areas. There are those things, those creatures that might live there that we have not yet documented. So you don't have to sell me anything. I'm totally on board with whatever you got.
So you see cats that walk on their hind legs. There could be goats out there that are big enough to do that, and they're just smart enough or big enough to keep people away from them, like intimidate them to keep them away, or to hide in these caves or whatever like that, and to keep from being discovered.
I mean, you've got that Asbestos closed down Glendale Hospital. That's the perfect place for these things to be. I mean, it's a huge cave. It's several huge caves. What'd you say, 28 buildings?
Exactly. And that's what I was about to say. Today, a lot of the areas where they had these Goatman sightings or even Bigfoot sightings, the roads have been straightened and flattened, and the trees have been taken down to make room for suburban roads and neighborhoods and businesses.
Flushing them out.
If the Goatman still haunts the area, he has fewer trees to hide behind along these modern roads, making the expansive abandoned, like you just said, the huge Glendale Hospital the perfect place for the Goatman to settle down and make a home. So, and then the police are always keeping you out. Maybe they have an arrangement with the Goatman. I don't know.
Maybe, they're trying to keep you safe from him, since he just is going to eat whatever comes walking up to him, or axe murder whatever comes walking up to him.
Whatever.
I mean, they don't want to have to deal with more of that. And I completely see where this is going, because it's just like our wildlife. When you cut down the forests, where are they going to go? They're going to come to your neighborhood. They're going to come to your backyard looking for food and, whatever else they're going to find. Like, I see deer walking around my neighborhood all the time. I would love to see Goatman, as long as, I guess I don't stare at him too hard or give him a strange look, because apparently that pisses him off. But they're flushing him out. They've had to level areas to make houses and malls, car washes and parking lots and whatever else they're going to level it for. And that took, that removed his home, or its home, whatever it actually is. We don't know.
Right. I want to immediately jump on the demon bandwagon because it does look a lot like that demon they were talking about, the way they describe him. But the fact that there are multiples in the United States, it goes more along with the whole Bigfoot theme of it just being an unknown species. So, I mean, they're endangered, guys, and we should, talk to someone about getting them put on that list. Goatman, Bunnyman, Bigfoot.
Endangered species. Yeah. I would support them. Every single purchase I ever made, because there's a lot of them where you're like, would you like to donate to somebody's education? Would you like to donate to this veteran? Whatever. Let's donate to the endangered species of Goatman. I'm like, yes. How much do you need?
I'll put $1 towards that.
Let's get that man a home. And maybe some good food, because the stuff that he's eating out there in the wilderness can't be good for him. Just saying.
Raw pork, I think it's okay, but it's not. No, it doesn't sound good or healthy.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you should really be cooking it.
Especially if you're cooking in the asbestos buildings.
Oh no, no.
cook your food.
Yeah, right.
Like, make sure it's thoroughly cooked. Boil your water. We got to protect the goat man here.
Our cooking show for the goat man and the Sasquatch that's out there. Hopefully they're listening to us. Maybe that's why our numbers have increased recently. They somehow got Wi-Fi and they're like, what is this amazing thing? Paranormal podcast. Yes, please.
They're sitting on the rooftop of the children's hospital together.
Making their weird satanic noises.
Every time they're really excited.
Clapping with their little coconut paws.
Yeah. Well, Bigfoot, he can actually clap. So.
Yes, he's like, golf clap for that.
Golf clap. But yeah, that's all that I got.
Oh.
I stumbled upon this hospital, and as I'm reading about it, the other story came up, and I was like, yeah, let's go down that rabbit hole. I know that it's an urban legend, and there's lots of ideas that it's just people misunderstanding. It could be a murderous person, like we said, dressed up in a costume. It could just be people's imagination. It could be a complete fucking lie. But the fact that people see it multiple times all over the state in times where things like that weren't just readily on the news, like, I heard about the goat man in Maryland. Oh, me too, down in Florida. Yeah, I mean, like, they're not on the internet. I saw a goat man too because they want to be famous. That's not necessarily what was happening back then. So the fact that people constantly report and describe creatures exactly the same, that's always really fucking impressed me. That's why I love cryptids, like, because you say it's a cryptid, but I say I think it's something we just it doesn't want to be discovered because it's got to be real. People to describe them so perfectly exactly the same, and then they're seeing them in different areas. It's like, this is an animal people don't know about.
I love that you brought a paranormal story to the show, and then you were like, and here's the monster of the week as well. I mean, that is my jam, 100%. But that was an awesome story. I'd never heard that before. I mean, I'd heard of the, tuberculosis. I know about that from our time, as you mentioned, at Waverly. And that obviously there's other hospitals out there, but this one, man, what a crazy story that this has going with it, with the whole, then it turned into a nursing home, and they're like, hey, guess what, guys, asbestos, so we got to go, and we're going to give this place to the goat man because he's got nowhere else to go. So
I think it was very kind of them.
It was generous, even. That's awesome. Even going back to the Native Americans and the what was it, like shapeshifters? I mean, that's
shapeshifters.
Wild.
Yeah, that's an old story right there. So I mean, like, how good people tell that story for so long, and carry that tradition down, and it not have some kind of fucking truth to it. So was it just Native Americans dressing up in the hides of the animals that they had hunted, or was it something else? We always want to believe in magic and like the extraordinary.
The unknown.
The unknown, like they're the ones sitting there saying it happened. So I just would like to know a little bit if it's true or not. So that's why we shared the story. And if anybody has a story to share along that lines, if you spent time at the Glendale Hospital exploring it illegally, but that's fine. We don't judge you.
Nope.
We support it,
Yes.
but don't come after us, please.
Yeah,
it's not like we did it. I'm just saying. If you got a story from the Glendale Hospital, or if you have a goat man story, or shit, we'll take a Bigfoot story too.
Oh, yes.
From Maryland or any part of the fucking country, please share that with us. We love it. We appreciate it. We support it. We don't judge.
No.
We almost believe it all. So share it with us, and you can email us at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com, or you can go on to any forms of our social media and you can direct message us, or you can comment on any posts. You know how that stuff works. So on Twitter and Facebook, it's COTN Paranormal. And then on Instagram, it's COTN_paranormal.
Yep. And I cannot wait to start sharing some Goatman images. I mean, I don't know if you're going to get, I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop. I mean, it's just going to be like 4 weeks later and I'm still sprinkling in.
Look at this one.
That's freaking awesome.
I know it's more your territory, and I was really nervous about kind of bringing it up and you being like, I know all about this. That's a stupid one. But I was like, Oh, I just want to, please,
No,
so
no,
bad.
I don't think that there's a cryptid out there that I would be like, that's a stupid one. I mean, there's probably some stupid ones out there, but I'm like, yes, tell me more. I just love them.
They're just so interesting. I mean, just the fact that it's a shared story in different areas in a time where stuff like that shouldn't have spread, you know? It was
Yeah.
like today if somebody told us about that sea monster they just found and somebody was like, "Oh, I saw that sea monster too." It was like, "No, you saw that on the fucking internet." And
Right,
you're just
exactly.
describing it to a T. It was
Yeah.
just totally different back then. So it's cool to see how long those stories have been passed down. There's
Yeah.
got to be some kind of truth to it.
There's got to be something behind it.
Right?
Love that shit.
But yeah, that's all I've got. I hope it was okay.
That was awesome. I loved it. I hope you guys did too, because I think it's fantastic.
And so if you did love it, please, we're begging you, rate and review so that we know how we're doing because we don't know.
No.
We just are hoping this is good.
Mhm.
So give us a rating. That's super easy. Or you can review it. Just a little quick note. This is good. You suck. Give me more of this. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
We take all kinds of constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Don't troll us. But constructive criticism is very welcomed. So bring it on.
Right. We'll take it right into the trash can.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye.